Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mercury. So today we're gonna do something a little bit different, but a lot of it the same. Mercury, what you mean? So I have to make some cookies, but I've already done a recipe review for this recipe before, but they're one of my favorite cookie recipes. So while I'm making the cookies, we'll have a chat. I figure why not, right? So in terms of topic of chatting, let's talk about 80s movies because yes, I love them. So let's go to the kitchen, let's get set up, and let's chat while we sort of mix up our ingredients and stuff. Also at the end of the video, I'll throw all the links up and the recipe will be in the description of the video with a link to the original website. But let's make some grain-free, refined sugar-free, gluten-free, lactose-free, delicious chocolate chip cookies. To the kitchen. I'm gonna be just basically creaming some coconut oil and some honey the same way you would with sugar and butter, but you know, coconut oil instead. It's all good. It's all good. So, Mercury, what's the deal with 80 movies? Why are we talking about that? Because I love them. Because they're awesome, and I've been watching them. And I don't know if anyone else is like this too, but I know for me, I'll get caught in like, I don't want to call it a funk because a funk sort of feels like you don't want to be there. Maybe a feedback loop. Maybe it's a feedback loop. I get caught watching the same things over and over again. And whether it's stuff from my childhood or growing up, you know, like going back and watching Indiana Jones or Star Wars or any of those things like over and over and over again. Don't ask me how many times I've seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show because that's way in the hundreds. Way in the hundreds. So, you know, why do I keep going back to the things that I like? Because I like them. I mean, that's the oversimplified answer is because I like them. But in addition to just liking them, there's also this element of comfort. So I saw this theory once about this, where people will do the same things over and over again because you can predict the outcome. And there's something about knowing the outcome that's comfortable to you. Whether that's the case for why I enjoy watching 80s movies so much, I don't know. But there's a certain style to 80s movies that focused so much more on the writing and the storytelling than it did on, say, like the CGI or the effects. You know, that's not to say there weren't action movies or puppets or, you know, great effects that were going on. But the story came first. And to me, it feels like somewhere along the way we lost that. We lost that concept of story first. And it feels like now the story is sort of like secondary to the visuals. I don't know if that's accurate or not, that's just my impression of it. So, I need to get more almond flour. I'll be right back. I've returned. So my skull full of almond flour does not have enough in it for this recipe, so I had to get a little replenishment. What 80s movies have I been watching recently? A lot of them. I can't really narrow it down. In the past few days, I watched Scarface, Al Pacino. Amazing movie. And the interesting thing with Scarface, that was the first time I saw it all the way through. I actually, I had seen bits and pieces of Scarface, but I hadn't had the opportunity to just sort of sit down and watch it. And I was just like, this is way overdue. Way overdue. So I'm wondering, if anyone else out there has movies that, are on their must-watch list that they just haven't quite gotten around to yet because for whatever reason, you know, time, life, whatever the case may be. But just things get in the way sometimes. So what's your movie that you want to be able to watch? And what are you going to do to make it happen? How are you going to watch that movie? And there's so many good ones out there. There's also other really good movies out there too. let's see, what other great 80s movies are out there? So many. There's so many. And there's also some great classics. You know, we have like Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal. Oh man, those were great. The Never-Ending Story. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my childhood in those 3 movies. Yeah, those are amazing. Amazing. I mean, not a movie, but did anyone else watch Fraggle Rock? I loved Fraggle Rock. It was like, you know, they're not Muppets, but they're Jim Henson, so they're Muppet-esque. And they live in, like, this guy's hole in the wall of his kitchen. I don't know how else to describe it. And he has a dog Sprocket, and the dog Sprocket knows that the Fraggles are there. But the human does not know about the Fraggles, even though it's this huge hole in the wall. Like, how do you not know there's Fraggles in there? But he doesn't know there's Fraggles in there. I just gotta throw this out. But yeah, and then the Fraggles go on all these adventures, and they have great friends, and they learn new stuff. Then there's the Doozers, which are like, they're very work focused. They're like, we have to work all the time, and they do construction. And they build things out of sugar, I believe. I think it's like sugar sculptures, basically, is sort of the concept behind it. And then there's the Gorgs, which are like these giant creatures. And they grow radishes. And then the Fraggles are always like trying to take the radishes. There were a few episodes where they sang and they had songs in them. And like, even to this day, like, some of those songs stick with me. There's a song about knitting, because knitting's friendly and knitting's fun and knitting's good for everyone. And that is why they sing the knitting song. So there's a lot of good takeaways from any of the Muppets. I think the Muppets are great. And I think Muppets and Muppet-esque things are not just made for kids, especially the old Muppet Show. Do you guys remember the old Muppet Show, like from the 70s and the 80s? Like Muppets, not Muppets Tonight. I think it was just called the Muppet Show. Watching it as a kid, you're like, oh, Muppets, they're funny. They have like slapstick and gag humor. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Watching it as an adult, you're like, what was I watching as a kid? What was that? And how did that go over my head? Yeah. But, it did. And that is sort of the wonder and the magic of the Muppets, is that they were able to both entertain kids and adults with the same skit, but for totally different reasons. Pretty impressive, because not a lot of people can do that. So, by the way, I've been mixing up my dough. Got my dough. And we're up to putting in the chocolate chips. So, I'm just throwing them all in. I'm just going chip wild on this one. Just gotta mash them all in there. So, I have to lean on the counter. So I'm gonna mash these chips in. I'll be right back. Okay, so I mushed the chocolate chips in and I made the little cookies. Gonna just put these in the oven real quick. So while those are in the oven baking, let's just come over here and finish our chat. So yeah, so many great 80s movies. And like, just thinking off the top of my head, there are so many that I could just name as amazing. You know, we got The Breakfast Club, we got Ghostbusters, we got Goonies, Back to the Future, 88 miles an hour. We got Indiana Jones. We've got 2 of the 3 original Star Wars movies. Star Trek movies were coming out during the 80s. Pretty in Pink, Dirty Dancing. I think National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Gremlins. Like, oh my gosh. But you see, like, think about that list I just rattled off. Think about storytelling versus special effects in those movies. And that's not saying they didn't have special effects, because they most certainly did. But what drove the story? Were the effects driving the story? Or was the story driving the story? And to me, I think the story drove the story for all of those movies. They were all so good. So good. Oh my gosh. And then there's like Dazed and Confused and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And oh my God. Like I could just keep going on and on and on and on and on. So many good movies came out of that period of time. And I was there for it and I'm still here for it. But let me know, what are some of your favorite movies? And do any of those movies that I just listed sort of resonate with you? Do any of them make your like top 10 list as movies that like you really like, really appreciate, or movies that you go back and revisit over and over again? And also, do you go back and revisit movies multiple times? Do you have that same sort of like attachment? Because I know I can watch movies hundreds of times if they, you know, connect to me in the right way. If there's something more than just the superficial entertainment, I can over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, infinitum, go back to the movies that I appreciate. And yeah, so I'm curious for everyone out there, what is it like for you? What resonates with you, and what makes those movies repeat movies for you? And if not, why not? And what's different for you? How come it's like a one and done? How come for you it doesn't resonate in that way where you want to see it over and over again? Because I know there's two different types of people out there. There's people who are like me and just keep going back to it. And there's other people that are like, I saw it. It was okay. My mom is like that. My mom will watch something once and she'll be like, okay, I did that. And I'm like, no, we have to watch it like 70 more times. And my mom's like, but we saw it already. Yeah, so I like there's two very different schools of thinking around this, and both are okay. It's just your preference. So I'm just curious out there, like what your preferences are. So I'm gonna wait for the cookies. When they come out of the oven, I'll show you what my cookies look like before I go, but I'll be right back. And the cookies are done. Yay, cookies are done. Okay, so let's try a cookie and yeah, just double check the validity of the cookie statement. Yes. So let's check the cookie. First, let's break the cookie in half and let me show you the insides. So that is the inner cookie. And these are like the soft, squishy kind of cookies. Yeah. So I grabbed the little ones. This doesn't have a lot of chips in it, but I'm sure it'll still be good. So cheers. This is my go-to cookie recipe for a reason. It's consistent and it's delicious, and I really like these ones. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite cookie recipe of cookies I can eat with my current diet. This is great. So, I'm gonna finish this cookie, maybe even watch another movie. I don't know. We'll see what the night holds. But for now, I'm done. I got my cookies and we'll get a movie lined up. And I will see you all really soon. And until then, stay inspired by everyone. Take care.